of the G20, where all the action is with perhaps the man who's in the thick of things as the chief coordinator of the G20. Harshingla ji, namaste and thank you very much for your time.
Namaste Anand, and thank you for having me on your show.
No, thank you for sparing the time in the midst of all of this, and I know I have limited time with you, so my first question to you is, 1 year down the line nearly, when you look back, what do you think we have achieved as the G20 chair?
Well, you do recall that when India took over the mantle of the G20 presidency in the last G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia, the Prime Minister conveyed his vision of an ambitious, decisive, action-oriented, inclusive presidency. And if you look past at the 9 or 10 months that have elapsed since then in our presidency, I think we have lived up to the Prime Minister's expectations of what India's presidency should have been. If you look at the fact that our presidency has been an inclusive one, we have not only accommodated our G20 partners but our invitees. Countries have included developing countries from our neighborhood, from very good representation from Africa, and has included, I think, we have also tried to include countries that have not been part of the G20 process in many of our meetings. At the same time, the vision has been to take the G20 beyond the capital, that's Delhi, to cities across the length and breadth of our country. So far I think we have hosted about 200 meetings in over 50 cities, and that has taken India, taken the G20 to every part of our country. It has democratized the G20, it has made it a people's G20, and through the Jan Bhagidari mode, I think the G20 has also been taken to the grassroots levels through the University Connect program, the G20 Model School, quiz competitions, also festivals where G20 theme and our presidency objectives have been popularized. So from every point of view, it's been inclusive. In terms of ambitious and action-oriented, if you look at our broad priorities, it has encompassed the expectations not only for our G20 partners, but the global South. And you'd recall that we had the voice of the global South. The Prime Minister consulted 125 countries, heads of state and government from the global South on their own views about what a G20 presidency should encompass. And from that perspective, I think we have included issues that are important for the developing world, whether it is how to take the SDG process forward, whether it is how to use digital public infrastructure to achieve digital transformations, whether it is to strengthen multilateral institutions like the multilateral development banks, whether it is to promote the concept of lifestyle for environment, climate change objectives, how to stimulate growth, inclusive sustainable growth, and women-led development. These have been priorities not just of India but of the developing world.
So if I were to ask you, let's take that thread of thought forward. India has also pitched among the G20 this year as chair this whole concept of first right of use of resources for developing nations, with the argument that the next 2 decades of development, 2/3 of the world's GDP will be contributed by these developing nations. How has that been received by the quote-unquote first world countries?
Well, all I can say is that our partners in the G20, and as you know, the G20 consists of both the developed countries and the major emerging economies. All of our partners are with us in our endeavor to promote human-centric globalization. The Prime Minister called for human-centric globalization, working for the global common good. And I think all of our friends and partners in the G20 are with us in that endeavor, that the G20 as a platform should seek to do more to ensure an equitable, inclusive world order, economic order I'm talking about, and where I think there is every effort to try and see how the developing world can be supported, can be assisted to realize its own vision of development, also how they can empower their people. For example, as I said, digital transformations. How can you use DPI to empower citizens of these countries.
Correct.
The Prime Minister pointed out there are 3 billion people who don't have identity cards. There are 1 billion people in the world who don't have bank accounts. How can we use our experience in terms of the Jan Dhan Aadhaar exercise to help empower those citizens across the world, and through the G20 platform achieve many of the goals that we're trying to do. So I think that is inherent in our approach and ably supported by all of our G20 partners.
You talked about taking G20 to the masses and democratizing it. I remember going to a school in a university in Sikar and a school in Varanasi, and two things that they said is that the G20 is not 20 nations. It's 19 nations plus the European Union. So add another 27 countries. So that was an interesting fact that school children were coming and explaining to us when we asked G20. But in this, we are planning to add the African Union. That's about 55 nations. Is that going to happen? Will the African Union become a permanent member of G20 by the time we come to a culmination of the G20 summit? Will that be one big achievement for us as chair?
Well, as you know, India has always advocated for a more representational and equitable global order, especially when it comes to global governance institutions like the United Nations, the Bretton Woods institutions. How can we ensure that the realities of the 21st century are reflected in these organizations? And from that point of view, Africa is a continent that we've always believed has been underrepresented.
Yeah.
It represents, as you say, 54 developing countries. How can Africa get its voice in the global order? And it's in that context that the Prime Minister has written to all of our G20 partners, his counterparts in the G20, proposing that Africa become a permanent invitee, a member of the G20. And from that perspective, I think countries are inclined to support our endeavor for the simple reason that they realize that the African Union's inclusion within the G20 will add additional heft to the G20. It will make it more representative. And that omission will be, I think...
because then that takes the size of G20 itself to about 91 nations, correct me if I'm wrong, 90 odd nations. That increases the size. But then does that also change the dynamic when we look at WTO, platforms like WTO? The 13th ministerial is upon us in February. Are we looking at resolution of disputes under our presidency?
So definitely, if you saw the meeting of trade and investment ministers recently in Jaipur, one of the issues that were highlighted was the issue of better utilization of the WTO to address redressal mechanisms, especially adjudication, other issues. I think there has been support for those efforts from our side, and in having a more representative grouping, the G20 becoming more representative, other groupings becoming more representative automatically will facilitate that endeavor to include issues that matter for the developing world. One of the things that we've been saying all this time is that the decision-making bodies, if they're not aware of what are concerns and what are the expectations of the developing world, they can't take the right decisions. And so we are trying to rectify that process, and I think that certainly is going to happen.
So that going to happen is very important. It doesn't come so easily from Harshvardhanji. Let me ask you, while we've taken G20 to all across the country, how much of our country are the many layers of these delegates taking back? Has their perception about what Bharat is and who we are, how, where we are, has that changed? Have you seen that yourself in terms of feedback?
So the Prime Minister said that every state in India has its own uniqueness, its own culture, its own beauty, its own I would say cuisine. It's important for the G20 delegates who are coming to India to be able to experience that. And so in a certain sense, by taking G20 delegates to every part, the length and breadth of our country, I think what we have achieved is that we have exposed the country's or highlighted the country's cultural heritage, diversity, and tourism potential to all of our G20 delegates who are very prominent representatives of these influential countries. So each of them have taken back with them a part of India, and I think if you see, I mean, I think it's not for us to say, but if you see the comments by delegates in every meeting possible, and those are on the record as well, they have absolutely, loved the experience. They have reveled in it, and I think given half a chance, many of them would come back on their own to India, would tell everybody else about their experiences in India. So in a certain sense, that exposure to India that we've been able to provide, it's sort of in-depth. You go to a part of India and you are able to see, the most scenic places, historic places. You're able to experience the food, the culture of that place, meet the people of that place. I think that is a rare experience for many of our visitors and will be definitely of great utility to us. I mean, if you see,
कोई इंटरेस्टिंग किस्सा है?
हाँ, वही मैं बता रहा था कि आप श्रीनगर के बारे में अगर देखें, तो श्रीनगर में हमारी G20 की टूरिज्म सेक्टर में मीटिंग हुई थी, और वहाँ पे जो डेलीगेट्स गए थे, उनको लगा कि ये जो भारत का हिस्सा है, ये इतना सुंदर और इतना मतलब यूनिक जो अपॉर्चुनिटी था, तो इससे ये फ़र्क ज़रूर महसूस हुआ कि इसके बाद जो टूरिज़्म इन्फ्लोज थे, और ख़ास तौर से जो फॉरेन टूरिस्ट आ रहे हैं, वो श्रीनगर, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर की ओर जाना शुरू कर दिए। और लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर में हाल ही में, मेरे ख्याल से एक हफ्ते पहले, इन्होंने ये स्टेटमेंट दिया कि G20 के कारण से टूरिज्म, इनकमिंग टूरिज्म श्रीनगर में बहुत बढ़ गया।
So that's one, but does that also change perception about what narratives are about certain states? I know you'd like to steer clear of those comments, but I'm still asking you, because did you find at the top that some delegates came thinking about this whole snake charmer, Samp Bichhuwala thought process outside of the national capital? Did you see them change, come back and say, all right, I'm going back educated with a different perspective of Bharat?
So everywhere we've had G20 meetings, we've also tried to have side events of the G20 that is able to provide them with a sense of the cutting edge technologies that we possess. For example, when the education working group met in Bangalore, the delegates were taken to the Indian Institute of Science. When we had a meeting in Chennai, they were taken to the IIT Chennai, where they were able to see some of the startups that have been started by people who are students, alumni of the IIT, for example. So everywhere we have tried to expose what is a uniqueness of India's, I would say, innovative culture that has come up. Many of them pioneered by young people. And I think that impact has been felt by each and every delegate, that India today is a country on the move. India today is not only a country well on its way to growth and development, but also a country that is in many senses a cradle of research and development, innovation, and scientific, I would say, achievements.
Final two questions, sir. Has the moon landing, Chandrayaan, made a difference? Did delegations come back and say, all right, let's include space into the agenda?
I think it has made a tremendous impact. It has made a tremendous impact. In fact, some of our meetings were happening even while the moon Chandrayaan 3 was touching down on the south side of the moon, and I think the impact it created among the delegates is difficult to describe, because I think it showed another facet of India that was not there. And certainly when you look at the fact that G20 includes a research and innovation group, it includes Science 20, it includes Startup 20, it includes many areas that are linked, and it includes, of course, a space working group also. There is a space meeting of the G20, there is a meeting of chief scientists of the G20. All of these groups are in some way linked to our space program, and I think it will foster a lot more interest in collaboration with India in an area that has not been well known in terms of our own scientific progress and achievements. And today, we are at the cutting edge, the leading edge of space exploration in the world. It is today the moon, tomorrow the sun and the solar system. I think that's raises and opens a whole new area of fascination for the rest of the world.
Final question, sir. Ahead of the leadership summit or at the leadership summit, one big box that you would like ticked?
Well, I mean, the box that is yet to be ticked is the leadership summit, and I think we are certainly looking forward. This is probably the most significant international event that India has hosted. It is a moment of India's leadership and the Prime Minister at the helm of it. I think many countries look at us as having the experience and the expertise to be able to contribute to finding solutions to global challenges of the day. And the summit, no doubt, will be the crowning glory of India's G20 presidency. And I have no doubt that this will be a memorable summit that will fulfill our expectations of an ambitious, decisive, action-oriented, inclusive presidency of India's G20.
Focusing on development and the economics and keeping the geopolitics aside, do you think that will be achieved?
Focus will be on technology, development, and all the areas in which India is regarded worldwide today as a leader, whether it's renewables, whether it is in terms of pharmacy, whether it is in terms of new technologies like frictionless credit, the central bank digital currency, India stack. All of this will be on full display and will be highlighted during the summit. Our technology will be very much there for everybody to see at the summit.
Well, we're eagerly waiting for that, and I know he's on a clock, so we thank you so much for your time, sir. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank
Absolute
you, sir.
pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, I've quite literally dashed back to the studios to take you through the rest of this edition of The Right Stand. But what Harsh Shringla ji said there, G20 going to Srinagar, the tourism part of it, changed the face and had so many more foreign terrorists coming in. This is something which is underlined even by the LG Manoj Sinha. But let me ask you this. Could this have happened had 370 not been abrogated? Well, in 2019, the centre proposed that Article 370 and Article 35A be scrapped, which they believe brought Jammu and Kashmir at par with the rest of the states of India. Ek Desh, Ek Vidhan, Ek Samvidhan. Now, the decision was ratified by the then President Ramnath Kovind ji. 4 years later, the issue is anything but resolved, with a constitution bench of the Supreme Court hearing multiple petitions challenging the abrogation itself. But before we get into the nitty-gritties, let me also show you the visible differences in Jammu and Kashmir and in, of course, Ladakh. Both are now union territories, both working back towards getting their governments in place and also statehood. This is what Lal Chowk looked like before the abrogation and then thereafter. From thin crowds to only security personnel, now it's like any other city's iconic chowk, and it's getting the facelift many thought could never happen. Muharram procession, the 10th day Julus, was held this year after more than 3 decades. Thousands of Shia Muslims took part in the procession to mark the 8th day of Muharram. Tourism and economy too witnessing a boost. Shops booming with business as tourist footfall hits record numbers. Let's also come back to the legal hurdles now. On Wednesday, on Tuesday, during the hearing, the 5-judge bench of the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court asked the central government what the roadmap for Jammu and Kashmir going ahead was. The Chief Justice of India led bench asked for the law asked that how long is it going to continue to be a union territory? The central government's response is that it's necessary that for some time it remains under the union as a union territory, but it is not a permanent feature. It's not going to be permanent in nature. However, Ladakh will continue to remain a union territory. The bench asked if there was a roadmap for statehood for Jammu and Kashmir, and will make positive statement on the 31st of August is what the Solicitor General responded on behalf of the government, saying whether or not government will restore actual democracy. The statement, a question on this, well, we are expecting an answer which is going to be key
after a meeting or conversation is held with the centre. Let us tell you here at CNN News 18 that we are given to understand that the grounds are prepared. LG Manoj Sinha is on record with CNN News 18 on the right stand saying that we can conduct elections in Jammu and Kashmir any day the Election Commission wants, because the process of delimitation and breakup, everything has been now completed. Meanwhile, elections in Jammu and Kashmir, much debate point. The point came up in court, to which the centre pointed the reorganization exercise and the set blueprint for elections will be made post that, a day prior to that. So this is what has been communicated in court. Now, a day prior to that, the top court made a significant observation on Article 35A. Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud stated that Article 35A took away the 3 fundamental rights from Indian citizens, and this constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, whether or not it was there, cannot supersede that of the Indian constitution. The centre, via the Solicitor General, told the Honourable Supreme Court that the Pulwama terror attack of 2019 that claimed the lives of 40 CRPF men prompted the decision to scrap 370 the moment the government came to power. One of the first big steps that they took soon after returning to power. SG Tushar Mehta also saying that you can't find fault with the government for bringing in a change that got every single citizen on par with each other. And 370 was supposed to be a temporary provision. How did it last more than 7 decades? That's another question. 370 was not meant to be permanent. That was the argument. Also, the centre highlighted how discriminatory 35A was to certain sections of society in Jammu and Kashmir, like the SC/ST, the Valmiki Samaj, the Gorkhas, and of course women in Jammu and Kashmir. Without naming any political party, the Solicitor General said that many in the valley projected hindrance to people's rights as a matter of pride. The centre is confident that winds of change are blowing in Jammu and Kashmir, and they have said that in court. In its affidavit, the Supreme Court has said that the government called it an era of unprecedented stability in Jammu and Kashmir. So can the government's argument be taken at face value? Let's take a look at some of the numbers as confirmed by the police on ground in Jammu and Kashmir. Pre-abrogation of Article 370, number of stone pelting incidents were 5,050, a decrease by 91% because the stone pelting incidents are 445 post the abrogation of 370. Post abrogation of 370, hartals 302, post abrogation, beg your pardon, this is pre-abrogation 302 hartals. Post abrogation, it is 31 hartals, so a decrease of 90%. So these are the numbers between May 2014 to 2019, and there were also 177 civilians who were killed and over 400 security personnel were martyred. These numbers have cut down because cut to post the abrogation of 370 between 2019 to Jan 2023. In that, the number is reduced, 122 civilians, 135 security personnel martyred in the line of duty. Now let's look at some of the potential factors that could have influenced decline in terror activities. Following the Pulwama attack, security forces in the region intensified their operations against terror groups, their leadership, their infrastructure, and this disrupted their activities and networks. International pressure and diplomatic efforts might have encouraged Pakistan to exercise restraint and also work towards de-escalation for the optics, which could have indirectly affected the level of violence in the region. Rejection by the local population. Sections of local population rejecting violence decreased local support for terror groups. The reason why most of these OGWs and these networks are being broken is because of local human People don't want violence. They don't want to sacrifice their children to the gun. They don't want their children to be misled and waylaid. Efforts to improve economic opportunities and development in the region, helping reduce the appeal of terrorism among youth. Improved living conditions and job prospects, offering an alternative to engaging in violence. Improved intelligence sharing and cooperation between various security agencies have led to better anticipation of terror activities and also nipping them in the bud, preventing many attacks from taking place. Increased sharing of resources have also happened. Vigilance along the line of control, improving border security measures with high-tech gadgets have made it harder for terrorists to infiltrate into Jammu and Kashmir, reducing their ability to carry out attacks. Not that there is no infiltration, but it's come down drastically, and there are also countermeasures in place. The security grid is stronger than ever. efforts to counter online radicalization, educational campaigns to keep youth informed. There are many who are doing a lot of hard work. First up this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to go to people who never thought that they will have perhaps a destination wedding. And that too in Jammu and Kashmir. Arnav Kumar and Tanya Manchanda are joining us, a couple who got married in J&K recently, and Dr. Ajay Gupta, father of the groom, is also with us. Namaste, Jai Hind, and congratulations first up, Arnav and Tanya.
Thank you so much, Anand, for having us on the show.
Thank you for coming and speaking in. Dr. Ajay Gupta ji, namaste. Now, first, let me ask you, Arnav and Tanya, congratulations on your wedding. When did you get married and how did it happen? Did you ever think it would be in J&K, and where in J&K?
We got married as recently as like 3 days ago.
Wow.
And we got married in Srinagar, and the wedding was in Taj. So that's where the venue was. And to answer your question, did we think about it? I think the first time this thought came to our minds, we were all sort of contemplating for a while. But it all sort of happened very smoothly, and you know it all went off great. So I think it was a great decision in hindsight.
Arnav, did it change perceptions? Were you a little apprehensive? Did you go and do recce? How many times did you travel to Srinagar to see sab theek hai ki nahi? And what would you tell others now?
Honestly, initially we were a little skeptical, but I think with some positive reinforcement and we made like 2-3 visits for the recce. And I think that gave us confidence that it's very much doable. And, people ask me why Srinagar. I always say, why not Srinagar? I see a trend that, a lot of people are planning, Indians go abroad for their destination weddings.
Yeah.
With our experiences, I will strongly urge Indians to get married in Srinagar. It's not only more scenic and romantic, but it's also, I think it adds to the economic empowerment of the people of Srinagar, which I think is very important if the state has to move away.
Frankly, batao, Arnav, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and also from Rajasthan all the way to Arunachal, there are so many destinations कि भारत में ही आप ढूंढते रह जाओगे, इतने destinations है. But Ajay ji, let me ask him, Ajay ji, how did this idea come through? Whose idea was this?
Well, Anand, idea came from the kids first, and to be honest, I was quite skeptical to begin with. But we had a childhood memories of Kashmir that every 3-4 years our parents from small town in Punjab, Malerkotla, used to take us there for holidays.
Ji.
So, and over the years as a doctor, we had a lot of friends there. I mean, friends as a doctor, colleagues, my students, my teachers. I had spent actually some time in Sora Medical Institute long year back, and then I had a lot of patients there. So when I interacted with them, they gave a sense of confidence, and we ultimately took a plunge, and I'm so happy that we did that. And I mean, we never felt for a single second any fear, any repulsion. Rather, there was so much cooperation from every nook and corner, all the people that we came across, and it was a wonderful experience. And not only that, we also got exposed to the culture there. There are musicians playing on santoor, so beautiful, so enlightening, peaceful there. And we had a taste of the local food, and all our limited guests who came there. They came from all over the world, our relations and friends, close friends, and they all had a lot of that they went on Shikara, enjoyed the Dal Lake ride and so on. It was a wonderful experience, and I think anybody who has a fears or any apprehensions about it, they should forget about that, and if they want to do that, it's a dream place to go. It's a dream place.
How were the people? What was
and
your
it is safe.
Did it change your perception, Ajay ji, if I may ask you before I go back to Arnav and Tanya? Did it change your perception? What would you tell the world, not just the people of Bharat, but the world about J&K?
Yes. That J&K is finally peaceful. I mean, you can feel that it is safe now. It is peaceful, and this is the destination of the world to be, because you have the lakes, you have the hills, you have wonderful scenic beauty, and you have a wonderful infrastructure now, and it is improving every day. And I have enough friends as a doctor, as I told you, my lot of close friends where I spoke to, they went out of the way to see that everything goes absolutely without any hindrance, and it was actually indeed, it was like that. And whatever we wanted, we got it. I mean, there's absolutely no deficiency of any type. I don't think I would have done better than that if I would have organized in Delhi. And people going all over, you see, Bangkok, Vietnam, and in the Middle East, or so many places. I think they're just wasting their money and resources. This is the place to go.
यहीं खर्च कर दो, भारत में इतनी अच्छी जगह है. But did you go up Shankaracharya, Arnab and Tanya? Where else did you go around?
Well, we didn't get much time. You know how Indian weddings are. But like 2-3 times when we had gone before we did visit a lot of places, the temple, and also of course the Shikara ride. We ended up going to Pahalgam and Gulmarg. So overall, it's been a, like, Srinagar will always be something truly close to our heart now.
And I know we didn't get the time because we had to come back to ceremonies, but so many of our guests who were at the wedding actually extended their trip or came in earlier to visit different cities, and they had, of course, great things to say. A lot of guests were in Kashmir for the first time, so they made the most of the wedding and sort of went around exploring other parts of Kashmir.
Fantastic. So happy and so glad to hear this and to have this conversation, and let's hope that you've just started a trend that many others will follow. Congratulations once again, Arnab and Tanya. Wish you a very, very long and happy married life together, and keep going back and perhaps explore newer destinations for newer landmarks in your life. And Ajay ji, thank you very much for listening to your kids and also for coming up and speaking openly about it. Namaste. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
No. Thank you.
Let's take this conversation forward with some Kashmiris, people from Jammu and Kashmir, who have also not just seen the times of strife, but also the times post the abrogation of 370. Praggnanandhaa Khan, Chairman Hope Alive, is with us. Mushtaq Chhaya, hotelier, is with us, and Wajad Farooq Bhatt, human rights activist, with us. SP Vaid, former DGP Jammu and Kashmir, also with us. Namaste. Thank you very, very much. So heartening to see there are people who are now having destination weddings in Jammu and Kashmir. There was a time one would wonder, ye kabhi ho sakta hai ki nahi, and it's happened. Praggnanandhaa ji, what's changed? There are arguments being made in the Honorable Supreme Court, and if any of those are listening, making these arguments, listening to these arguments, what would you like to tell them?
So, being into a social work, I'll just tell you the things that have changed after the abrogation of article. There are a lot of opportunities that youth are getting. Let it be in film industry, sports. We have been conducting the events throughout, since 2019 till now. There's no stop for the events, no stop for the talent hunt. And recently we conducted a women's cricket league, first ever, kind of a IPL for women, in which we got Mithali ma'am, and there was our Shri Manoj sir, the governor. It was great support by the government, very great support. And it was a good event, sir, overall. There's a lot of talent hunts which are going for both boys and girls. There are various number of fashion shows that are going. Plus, we have a Miss World that's coming directly to Srinagar.
Yes.
That's, that's such a nice thing for the youth of Kashmir.
And they're coming at a time when the orchards are full, autumn is just about to kick in, and Jammu and Kashmir has a different view altogether. It's something which is yadgar for a lot of people. I just want to ask Mushtaq Chhaya ji, what would you like to tell people about what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir, especially over the last 4 years since the abrogation? As a hotelier, how are things? See, destination weddings also as an option now.
आनंद साहब, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. आज आपने फिर मौका दे दिया बोलने का, तो कहना मुझे ये है, आई विल टेल ओनली फॉर द टूरिज्म.
जी.
तो नो डाउट अबाउट इट कि 2-2.5 साल से
जी बोलिए।
2-2.5 साल से टूरिज्म बहुत अच्छा यहाँ चल रहा है, मगर ये बात मानने की है 33 साल हमने बड़े मुश्किलात देखे हैं टूरिज्म ने, तो 2.5 साल से बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है। वी आर थैंकफुल टू गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, वी आर थैंकफुल टू द LG मनोज सिन्हा, उसने भी बड़े एफर्ट्स ले लिए, हमारे यहाँ के ट्रेड ने भी बड़ी मेहनत की, हमारे टूरिज़्म डिपार्टमेंट ने बहुत मेहनत की, तो बहुत अच्छा टूरिज़्म चल रहा है। बेसिकली टूरिज़्म इज़ अ पीस, पीस के बगैर टूरिज़्म नहीं होता है। तो माशाल्लाह 2-2.5-3 साल से यहाँ अच्छा पीस है, तो टूरिज़्म भी बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, मगर और भी बहुत करने की ज़रूरत है। आनंद जी, आपको मानना पड़ेगा, अगर हमारी कंट्री में सबसे ज़बरदस्त टूरिज़्म प्लेस है दैट इज़ कश्मीर। यहाँ का एक एक इंच टूरिज़्म है, यहाँ के लिए बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। हम स्विट्ज़रलैंड भी गए हैं, आप भी गए हैं, सब जाते हैं, वहाँ तो सारा बनावटी है। अगर वहाँ का 0.0000 ऑल जीरो लॉस 1% यहाँ खर्च और किया जाए, नो डाउट किया इस साल इन्होंने, स्मार्ट सिटी अच्छी बन गई, हमारे यहाँ एक फेस लिफ्ट हो गया, उसमें कोई इनकार नहीं कर सकता है। मनोज जी ने भी बहुत काम किया यहाँ, जो हमारे LG साहब हैं जी, बहुत अच्छा काम किया, तो बहुत मेहनत की, तो बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है। तो हमें आगे भी उम्मीद है और भी अच्छा होने की।
मेहनत तो जम्मू कश्मीर
शुड बी देयर एज
जी, जम्मू कश्मीर की आवाम को और भी मेहनत करने की जरूरत है, और भी ज्यादा यंगस्टर्स इसमें जुड़ेंगे। देखिए एवेन्यूज कितने सारे बन जाते हैं,
जम्मू कश्मीर
कितने सारे एवेन्यूज बन जाते हैं, जैसे
तैयार है वो बिल्कुल वो बिल्कुल काम के साथ है, बिल्कुल पीस के साथ है, ऐसी बात नहीं है जी। यहाँ के लोग बहुत ही पीस माइंडेड है, बाकी वो दूसरी बातें हैं, मगर इस वक्त और भी गवर्नमेंट को बहुत कुछ करने की जरूरत है। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, दैट डायरेक्शन शुड बी फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट।
मुश्ताक जी, आप भी तजुर्बेकार हैं, आप भी जानते हैं कि जो 30-35 साल 40 साल में नहीं हुआ वो 4 साल में तो नहीं कर सकते हैं, धीरे धीरे होगा, और जितना करने की कोशिश करेंगे और इम्प्रूवमेंट करने की जरूरत है, वो मैं मानता हूँ।
समझते हैं
फिर
भी अच्छा हो गया, बट एट द सेम टाइम और करने की जरूरत है। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस जरा समझ लीजिए, और भी करने की जरूरत है। और मेरा मशवरा है, मेरी सजेशन है गवर्नमेंट को, दे शुड प्रेफर द J&K स्टेट पीपल फर्स्ट। वी आर थैंकफुल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, उन्होंने 28,000 करोड़ का हमें इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी दे दिया है, बट ये नहीं कि हम इन्वेस्टर बाहर से लाए जो यहाँ के लोग नहीं कर सकते हैं, वो बाहर के आ जाए।
बिल्कुल मुश्ताक जी, मैं इतना कहूंगा, मैं ये कहता हूं कि अगर जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग इन्वेस्ट करने को तैयार है तो प्रेफरेंस उन्हें मिलना चाहिए। अगर वहां की आवाम काम करने को तैयार है, लेबर फोर्स खड़ी होती है, मेहनत करती है, तो उनको प्रेफरेंस देना चाहिए। लेकिन अगर कोई और दूसरे स्टेट से आकर उनसे ज्यादा मेहनत करने को तैयार है और ज्यादा वहां पर रेडी है इन्वेस्ट करने को, तो फिर उसे रोका नहीं जा सकता, क्योंकि लोकल्स को और आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा। ये बात जरूरी है। अभी मेरे पास समय कम है, रुकिए,
प्लीज लिसन टू मी।
जी
हाँ बोलिए।
नहीं, I'll come back to you. I just want to get वजाद फारूक भट्ट जो ह्यूमन राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट हैं, काम कर रहे हैं, उनके साथ जो पहले कभी या तो गन की तरफ जाते थे या स्टोन पेल्टिंग करते थे, there is a lot that's changed. How to channelize that anger and to turn around and say this is what I need to do to live. Wajad, last time that conversation I still remember where you said you're telling people living is more difficult than putting yourself up in front of a bullet or having a bullet named after you. But how is this helping whatever is happening in Jammu and Kashmir now? Is post abrogation creating more avenues for people to look at livelihood and living rather than look at destruction and death?
Thank you so much, sir. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much, sir. बहुत shukriya. See, when we are talking about the abrogation of Article 370 and after and before the abrogation of Article 370, I will start from before the abrogation of Article 370. हमारे पास हमारे कश्मीर ने फॉरेन टेररिस्ट देखे हैं, इन्फिल्ट्रेट करते हुए कश्मीर, एंड वी हमारे यहाँ पे कुछ लोग उनको वेलकम करते थे। एंड आफ्टर द एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हमने फॉरेन टूरिस्ट देखे कश्मीर आते हुए, एंड आज के कश्मीर में हमने उनको वेलकम किया। बिफोर द एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हमने देखा है कि दैट फॉरेन हवाला मनी आता था फॉर टेररिज्म। आज के नए कश्मीर में जब आफ्टर द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हम देख रहे हैं फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट यहाँ पे आ रही है, अक्रॉस द इंडिया यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट आ रही है फॉर द अपलिफ्टमेंट ऑफ द यूथ ऑफ कश्मीर। तो ये सबसे बढ़कर अगर मैं आज कहूंगा ये दो चीजें मैं समझता हूँ कि ये बहुत बड़ी चीजें हैं। एक आर्टिकल से पहले जो यहाँ पे पैसा, जो यहाँ पे लोग फॉरेन लोग आते थे टेररिज्म को फैलाने के लिए, लोगों को मारने के लिए, टेरर को फैलाने के लिए, वही आज के कश्मीर में अगर हम बात करते तो आज वही पैसा, आज दूसरा पैसा आता है यहाँ की एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए, यहाँ के लोगों को रोजगार देने के लिए। तो ये समझता हूँ कि ये बहुत बड़ी चीज है। और दूसरी बात मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि एज यू सेड दैट आई रिसेंटली जब लास्ट टाइम हमारा इंटरेक्शन हुआ था कि दैट आज के कश्मीर में जो यहाँ के पेरेंट्स है, यहाँ के लोग हैं, वो अपनी जान की अहमियत जानते हैं। वो जानते कि हमारी जो बिना वजह हम लोग अपनी जानों को बर्बाद करते थे फॉर सम एलिमेंट, जो यहाँ के रिलीजियस जो रेडिकलिज्म की वजह से, यहाँ के कुछ सेपरेटिस्ट जो यहाँ के लीडर्स थे, यहाँ के जो पॉलिटिकल माफियाज थे, उनकी वजह से कुछ उन चीजों के लिए जो हमने कभी तस्वर ही नहीं किया, उन चीजों के लिए हमने अपनी जाने दी है। तो आज का नौजवान समझ चुका है कि जो चीजें हमने पिछले 30 साल से किए हैं, हमसे करवाई गई है, वो चीजों से मिला के हमें एक ही चीज मिली है, वो बर्बादी। तो आज के कश्मीर में हमने फ्रॉम लास्ट 3-4 साल से हमने देखा कि मोर देन 1 करोड़ टूरिस्ट यहाँ पे आए हैं। हमने आज के कश्मीर में देखा कि दैट हर घर में अगर आप देखोगे आज हर कोई नौजवान बच्चा आज सुबह निकलता तो शाम सेफली वापस आता है। आज के नए कश्मीर में हम देखते हैं कि जो बिफोर द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हम हर रोज हर जुमे पे हम किलिंग्स देखते थे, हम स्टोन पेल्टिंग देखते थे, जिसमें लोकल सिविलियंस की कैजुअलिटीज होती थी। मैं एक खुद फॉर्मर स्टोन पेल्टर रहा हूं, सो आई नो दीज थिंग्स। तो किस तरह से ये चीजें चलती थी। सो आज के दौर में मैं ये समझता हूँ कि जब एक बच्चा जाता है, वो सुबह निकल के स्कूल जाता है, वो ऑफिस जाता है, वो अपने काम के लिए जाता है। तो ये डिफरेंस है पुराने कश्मीर में और आज के कश्मीर में। जी,
वेरी वेल स्पोकन वजाहत। आई हैव लिमिटेड टाइम, बट फरकंदा जी, आई जस्ट वांट टू आस्क यू कि आप ग्राउंड पर ये जो आप सोशली आप काम की बात कर रहे हैं, व्हाट यू टॉकिंग अबाउट, is that manifest, is that really changing the face? Are people saying that this is so much better than what was happening over the last 30-35 years? Because you've grown up in those times. तो मैं आपसे honestly जानना चाहता हूँ।
So obviously जब हमारे youth को opportunities मिल रही हैं, so it will change the way of thinking, everything it will change. So you're giving platform to the players, you're giving platform to the fashion industries. तो सर एंड प्लस सर जब भी किसी इवेंट के लिए जाते हैं, देयर इज नेवर नो बाय द गवर्नमेंट, स्पेशली बाय द एलजी। यू नेम अ इवेंट, लेट इट बी अ फैशन इवेंट, लेट इट बी अ क्रिकेट इवेंट और एनी यूथ एंगेजमेंट प्रोग्राम, दे आर ऑलवेज अवेलेबल, व्हिच इज ऑलवेज अ वेलकम स्टेप बाय देम। I have, from that day, since the article till now, I have done a lot of events, a lot of like almost 50 events. I never got to heard a no from the government. So ये जो चीजें हैं सर, ये लोग ये जितना भी कुछ हो रहा है, so it's giving a good way, good path to the youth. They are getting involved. जो उनका स्ट्रीम है, जिसमें उनको इंटरेस्ट है, आगे जाने में बहुत हेल्प कर रहा है उनको। There were people who were going to Bombay for the film industry. Now film industry is coming down to Kashmir. That's a big opportunity for them. जैसे यहाँ पे सर बॉम्बे हम लोग भेजेंगे तो कुछ कास्ट यहाँ पे जितना भी होता है they'll go, जो selected caste है। But when the Bombay industry is coming to Kashmir, so you get a lot of, like, you get 300, 400, thousands of people are getting job opportunities.
Correct.
Yeah. So and sports में भी sir, there are a lot of people who aim to play for India. But sir, हमारे यहाँ क्या होता था, यहाँ पे tournaments नहीं होते थे, बाकी चीजें नहीं होती थी. We have special talent huts now by the organizations, which is surely helping the youth. तो सर इन सब चीजों से एक youth जो है वो boost हो रहा है कि no, there is a life इन सब चीजों से हटके we should focus on our future and every damn thing.
No,
because कियोस, बहुत सारा कियोस था इससे पहले, बहुत सारा कियोस
जी,
जो एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी जो आई है, दैट्स द थिंग जो एक पॉजिटिव वे में जा रहा है.
no, very well said. And you're a former captain yourself, a sports person yourself, and so you would know the difference. And you are the people who are making the changes. You are the agents of change on ground, and your hard work is something that I salute and I really commend. Wajad, Praggnanandhaa, thank you so much. And Mushtaq ji तो veteran है, वो टफेस्ट टाइम्स में सर्वाइव कर गए, ये तो अभी और इजियर टाइम्स है, अभी तो और ज़्यादा इनको अपना व्यापार बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत है. आई हैव टू मूव ऑन फॉर द मोमेंट, बट थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम एंड फॉर शेयरिंग योर स्टोरीज विद अस. ऑलवेज अ प्लेजर टू स्पीक विद ऑल ऑफ यू. थैंक यू. Thank you. Quickly moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we've got news coming through here on the right stand. An international survey has given a big thumbs up for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Pew survey has picked PM Narendra Modi as the top choice for PM to return in 2024. The survey further states that PM Modi continues to lead the way as India's preferred leader. Let's take a look at some of the parameters. We are taking the numbers straight from the Pew research as they've put it out. PM Modi has very favorable, at least 79% of the respondents. So 79% of the respondents have found PM Narendra Modi as very, very favorable. There are also other names who have put there as Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Kharge, and also some other names that have come in. But in this case, we see that very favorable numbers for Rahul Gandhi is 26, somewhat favorable is 36, and unfavorable is 34. Similar numbers there for Mallikarjun Kharge, but an overwhelmingly very favorable opinion for PM Narendra Modi that's come forth in this Pew survey. There's another question that we can just quickly show you. Many Indians feel their country is growing in influence. Percentage of Indian adults who say India's influence in the world in recent years has been getting stronger. 68% believe it's been getting stronger. 19 country median is 28, 48 and 13 supports governing parties. So many people have median percentages based on 2022. So there is a huge change in the perception. Supports governing parties, does not support governing parties. Men and women alike are saying that it's a big, big thumbs up for the growth story under PM Narendra Modi. For more details, do visit our News 18 website. We've put out all the details and culled out all the inferences for you to peruse. Quickly moving on, ladies and gentlemen, on the 19th of August, CNN News 18 blew the lid of a fraud that was putting the future of our children in jeopardy. We revealed how scholarships by the central government to minority educational institutions was being looted and pocketed by scamsters. Days after that expose, the CBI has now filed an FIR in the case. The FIR against officials of different government agencies and banks. The charges include criminal conspiracy, cheating, forgery, using forged documents and criminal misconduct. The government is engaged the National Council of Applied Economic Research or NCAER to carry out a third-party evaluation, and that's when the ugly reality tumbled out over a small sample. Out of 1572 institutions, 830 turned out to be fake. Here's what the CBI FIR states, quoting the investigation conducted by the National Council for Applied Economic Research. 152 of the 269 suspicious institutes found to be fake. Out of 744 verified schools, 65 are actually non-operational. 316 schools with all fake applications. 55 schools with partially fake applicants. Analysis indicates unscrupulous elements in the system siphoning off money from this entire scheme, funds by fraudulent means, and also depriving rightful claimants from scholarship benefits. The evaluation of the data also comes out to say that there is a huge loss to the exchequer of approximately 144.33 crore. The level of loss to the government is likely to be much, much higher because this is just a small sample out of the total number of 1,75,000 plus institutions. 1572 is a sample, 830 are fake. Take a look at the scale of the fraud. 53% of the institutions surveyed Fan India found to be fake. 100% of the institutions in Chhattisgarh found to be fake. 62 out of 62. 99 out of 128 institutes in Rajasthan found to be fake. 69% of the institutions in Assam found to be fake. 64% of the institutions in Karnataka found to be fake. 60% of the institutions in Uttarakhand found to be fake. 44% of the institutions in Uttar Pradesh found to be fake. 40% of the institutions in Madhya Pradesh fake. 39% of the institutions in Bengal fake. Even those who dropped out are availing benefits of the scholarship. Look at the dropout percentage. Class 9, 66% dropouts after the money comes into the accounts. Class 8, 67% dropouts after taking the money. So the money comes as an annual payment just at the start of the session. Moment the money comes into these accounts, even in class 7, 68% is the dropout rate. Now, when the investigation began on a pan-India level, a pattern was noticed. Some major red flags were also noticed, like these: multiple concentration of accounts in a single bank branch, multiple scholarships that have been accounts found to be with one mobile number. One SIM card had 22 scholarships in the same class. How can a guardian or a parent have a ward, 22 wards in the same class? Anomaly. Schools where applications are bigger than the strength. School strength is 5,000, applications coming in 7,000. Institutions with no hostels but claiming benefit for hostels. There's a difference of at least 7,500 rupees in the scholarship amount itself. Schools for tribals and girls drawing scholarship for minority boys, and some of these schools are based in one state, the benefits are being drawn in another state. All of these cases have come to the fore. And now the CBI is going to do a deep dive, and it's a 21 states plus many union territories where it's all spread. The rot runs quite deep, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get you the details. We'll track this story very closely here at CNN News 18. Taking a short break. When we come back, it's the chess whiz, Praggnanandha's coach, RB Ramesh, who has a chat here on the right stand.
Furor both among the teacher community as well as in the opposition in the state of Bihar. We will try and get more reactions coming to the fore from parents and students alike as well. But now we have a first reaction that has come to the fore from the Bihar government over this entire furor that has been triggered by this decision. The Bihar government, of course, going on to justify the decision that has been taken by them over the changes in the holiday calendar for government schools. Listen in to this reaction coming in.
200 रुपया सिलेंडर के दाम कम कर देने से भाजपा का टीआरपी बढ़ने वाला है। 200 सिलेंडर का दाम बंद किया और 23 जून से मनरेगा के मजदूरी नहीं मिल रहा है। गिरिराज बाबू दूसरा सवाल पर बोल रहे हैं, उनसे पूछिए कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास 3 साल से क्यों नहीं मिला बिहार के लोगों को। उनसे पूछिए कि मनरेगा का 1100 करोड़ बकाया है, क्या है, काहे नहीं मिल रहा है, आप ही तो उसके मंत्री हैं। तो ये सब बात पर वो बोलते नहीं है जिससे गरीब लोग की भलाई हो सके। गरीब लोग मर रहा है, परेशान हो रहा है और तरह के बात
यहाँ बात आस्था की है और शिक्षक भी नाराज हैं और कहा जा रहा है कि हिंदू के पर्वों पे ही ये छुट्टियाँ क्यों लागू हुई।
अब भाई हिंदू मुस्लिम कुछ थोड़ी हो रहा है। राज की तरक्की की बात हम कर रहे हैं, राज में अमन की बात कर रहे हैं, शांति की बात कर रहे हैं, भाईचारा की बात कर रहे हैं। अब भाजपा इधर उधर की बात घुमाते रहती है, तो भाजपा की इधर उधर घुमाने से देश घूमेगा। अब ये जाने वाले हैं, इनका आखिरी टाइम है।
धन्यवाद। कि जैसे छठ वगैरह की छुट्टियां होती हैं जिसमें औरतों
बहुत बोल चुके हैं, बहुत नहीं कुछ कर सकते। बता दिया कि बिहार के गरीबों के लिए जो मजदूर है उसके पेट में रोटी के लिए इनके पास पैसा नहीं है और ये छुट्टी की बात कर रहे हैं और दूसरा सवाल उठा रहे हैं। उनसे पूछिए कि ये जो 23 जून से मनरेगा के मजदूरों का मजदूरी भुगतान हुआ, कब हुआ। भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोगों से पूछिए, ये भारत सरकार पैसा देती है, ये केंद्र प्रायोजित योजना है मनरेगा, कब पैसा मिलेगा, ये इसका सवाल पूछिए। ये इसका सवाल पर क्यों नहीं बोलते हैं। छुट्टी होगा कि नहीं होगा ये तो सरकार तय करती है, जब सरकार तय करेगी उसके हिसाब से काम।
ये सरकार का फैसला है या एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट का?
अब ये फैसला सरकार के लेवल पर ही होता है ना।
This decision has been taken with due diligence. There's absolutely no reason why questions need to be raised, is the argument that comes to the fore from the Bihar government. The JDU justifying why this decision has been taken by the state government, even accusing the BJP of raising needless political issues. Why don't you speak about the inflation? Why don't you speak about what the poor in this country are facing, is the retort that has come to the fore from the Bihar government, from the JDU specifically, as far as this entire controversy is concerned. Remember, there are two sides to this controversy. One is the political one, the BJP, of course, raising questions. The other is the furor that has sparked among the teachers of these government schools, who are also now having to deal with increased number of working days. Saurabh, my colleague, now joining us, getting us the latest on this. Saurabh, the state government is very, very clear that they are well within their rights to take this decision. It is, in fact, as per the RTE that they've done so, and this political controversy is needless.
Yes, but on the other hand, the coalition partner RJD is giving different statements, and it's saying that it's the directive given by the Education Department. ACS KK Pathak has given, but it is the government who is responsible for deciding the leaves of the government employees of the state. And now the statement coming out from JDU minister, he is saying that it was a collective decision taken by the state government, and it was not just Education Department's decision. So again, the different controversial lines coming out from both the coalition partners. But the fact here is that around 14 leaves have been cancelled out of 25 in the state, and the teachers are anguished in the state. The teachers are saying that they are going to protest against this directive, and they are going to sit on dharna, and also they are going to stop teaching children till this order is rolled back. So this has not only created political uproar in the state, also the teachers are anguished about it, and because it's a matter of the festivals which are very important, especially in Bihar, festivals like Chhat, Jitiya, Teej. These festivals are meant for mostly women, and they have to stay at home and they have to keep fast. So more than a couple of days are needed for this festival. Earlier, the schedule that was given for the leaves, it had 5 to 7 leaves, especially in Durga Puja, Chhat. They had around a week's holiday, but now those leaves have been cut to 2 or 3 days. So again, this has sparked a row, and we have heard BJP leaders, they are blaming that again Nitish Kumar and coalition government is playing appeasement politics, because no leaves have been cancelled as far as Muslim festivals are concerned. So this has again taken appeasement politics angle to the story, and whereas we see the RJD and JDU, they are on defensive mode, and they are protecting the directive that has been given by the Education Department. Back to you, Poonam.
Right, the politics aside though, Saurabh, we've seen protests coming to the fore from different parts of the state, from the teachers community as well. They too have been caught off guard with this entire decision. So how is that going to be an issue for the ruling coalition there? How are they intending to deal with that?
See, teachers are already anguished, not just because of this particular order, but earlier also certain directives given by ACS KK Pathak, they are not being taken well by the teachers and teachers association in Bihar, because orders like you have to sell sacks.
How did you think Praggnanandhaa fared in the World Cup?
Extremely good, much beyond our expectations. Of course, Prag's ultimate aim is to become a world champion eventually, and we were having a time frame like 3 to 5 years from now, because Magnus Carlsen, who is the current world champion, he did it at the age of 22, and Prag is 18. So we were thinking like probably when he's around 21, 22, 23, we should be able to do it, and we are working towards it. And coming all the way to finals, excellent performance.
He opened with white, game 1, right? And
Yes.
there was that exchange of the pawn knights which happened. If my memory serves me right, it was the 12th move, where Magnus actually took more than nearly about half an hour to make his move, to make that sacrifice. Do you think Prags could have won that game?
Yeah, I think in the first game, in the tiebreak game, Prag had a very decent chance to have turned it in his favor. And he was doing quite well. And I was kind of hoping maybe the chances now like 60-40 that he will win this game. and at the worst case it will be a draw. But then the nerves set in and the tiredness probably. He started making few inaccurate moves, and then I realized like, okay, this is less to do with chess than with the nerves and the emotions and the energy levels. So he started kind of collapsing a bit too soon, and he lost the game, the first one, and subsequently drew second, and he lost the match eventually. Yeah.
So how do you guys discuss it? Tell us what happens behind the scenes after a match. You give him a 1 or 2 day cooling off period, or is it the straight away post-match postmortem that happens and
no, we believe like
process?
Yes, so we believe the postmortem should happen only after life has left the body, not when life is still alive. In the sense, we normally don't discuss in depth what is happening in the middle of a tournament. Only after the event is complete, we generally try to discuss things threadbare. Sometimes this discussion can take like a couple of days also. Like we wait for the right time to discuss this, not at the heat of the moment.
Good evening, welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The India Alliance parties are meeting over the next couple of days in Mumbai. This is the third such meeting after the first two meetings happened in Patna and Bengaluru. And the issues of contention remain much the same. That is seat sharing, how to put up common candidates across 543 constituencies, how to have a common agenda or a common minimum program, to have a coordination committee or a convener. There seems to be a lot of back and forth on whether